Hi. Okay, so now we're moving on to the 2020 Bedrock Wine Co. This is their Bedrock Vineyard Heritage red blend from Sonoma Valley. So, where do I start with this producer? This is one of the most exciting producers in California, in my personal opinion. A relatively new, might you say, up and coming producer. Morgan Twain Peterson started this winery in 2007. So he is the son of the famous Joel Peterson, the owner of Ravenswood Winery, who is credited with introducing Zinfandel really to worldwide. He started making Zinfandel in 1976, and it was before, that grape variety wasn't really taken seriously and respected. And then Ravenswood came along and really kind of made these very dry, really high quality examples of Zinfandel. So Morgan Twain Peterson, his son, grew up in the winery with his dad and his mom. And so he's been around these vineyards his whole life. And so it was probably a very natural progression for him to move into his own project. So this is one of their own estate vineyards, and you can see here on the label where it says 133rd year, Bedrock Vineyard Ancient Vines. And this is kind of a depiction of the vines. So these are vines that were planted initially in 1954. So very old vines. And if you've ever seen one of these vines, it's almost breathtaking. It's just gorgeous. It's almost a work of art. But that's kind of probably why I do what I do, because I get really excited by looking at old vines. These vines produce these extremely small berries that are jam-packed with flavor and intensity. In Morgan Twain Peterson's words himself, he said, this vineyard is the gravitational center of everything else that we do at Bedrock. So it's a vineyard that is, because of the age of the vineyard and how vineyards were planted that long ago, they were just co-planted with a bunch of different grape varieties. And often some of them are not even marked what they are. And then they would just make a field blend, and they would kind of ferment everything together, and it would kind of just be a blend of whatever was on the vineyard. And that's sort of what that's what this wine is, although they do have much more of an idea of what is planted now and what goes in the blend. But there are over 30 different grape varieties in this blend. It's primarily composed of Zinfandel, Carignan, and Mourvedre. But again, everything's co-planted, co-fermented, and it's really kind of just a harken back to the style of wines that were made a long time ago. So, and then it's aged in a bunch of different types of, a variety of different types of oak barrels. So if you smell this wine, for me, right off the bat, it smells very much so like Zinfandel. You get this beautiful kind of sweet and sour component to the wine. We'll taste the wine now. And again, kind of looking at the color on this, it's a really vibrant, similarly looking to the Chinon, actually. It's got this nice red center with like a pink rim. Appears very youthful. On the nose, it's really got a lot of aromatics, super high intensity of aromas here. So smells very much so like Zinfandel. Even though it's a blend, it's hard to kind of hide. The Zinfandel is a pretty aromatic grape variety. So a lot of red berry, strawberry, kind of a fruit roll up quality to it. Um, just jammy, a lot of like jelly, grape, really kind of more like strawberry jelly. There's even like a little bit of like a yogurty quality to it, just kind of this sweet and sour component. Um, there's some spice here, a lot of like vanilla, cinnamon. Wow. There's a hint of like baking spices here, like a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of nutmeg. Mm. On the palate, oh, this has quite a bit of structure. And that kind of refers to like the tannin of the wine, which again, I'm assuming this is a very, very, very young current vintage of 2020. But also, it's probably because of the old vines here as well. Um, so yeah, kind of like makes your like you just kind of sucked a tea bag a little bit. It has that feeling in your mouth right now, a little bit drying out. But it's very overall very dry wine, not sweet at all. It's got this beautiful, the alcohol is very balanced with the acidity. It kind of, makes you want to go for another sip. Mm. Ah, so delicious. This is another wine that I would definitely recommend serving with a little bit of chill on it. Honestly, all of these red wines will benefit from being served with a little bit of a chill on it around that 60 degree, even maybe like 56, 58. Other than, not any colder than that though. But it'll really showcase all these. I mean, all of these wines are just have a ton of very lifted, high intensity aromatics. There's some floral components of this, like roses, geraniums. This is just gorgeous. Again, something you can drink on its own, or something that would be beautiful with any sort of like kind of grilled meats. I'm thinking about like grilled chicken and grilled ribs, even some beautiful, nice hard cheeses. So I think, Bedrock Wine Company is, they make a lot of different wines. They have access to some of the oldest vineyards in Sonoma Valley. And just to clarify, these vineyards are in the southern part of Sonoma where it's warmer. So most people think of Sonoma Valley as a region for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, those Burgundian varietals. But in the southern part is where you will find all these old, old, old vineyards with, like these fill blends, as I mentioned, and because it's warmer there. So a lot of Morgan Twain Peterson is also a master of wine. He's incredibly talented, so passionate, and he makes some of the most exciting wines coming out of California. So, and this is one of their flagship wines, and very special. So, cheers.